Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one of getting all the insight. Now today's video will focus a little bit more about elections. Now yesterday on the 8th of May, there was very heated debate between the two parties' leader, obviously including the Prime Minister of Australia. Well, I don't know if you have spent time watching it. It's actually wow. It's like a boxing matching. I think it's pretty good because that actually display the democracy and how the viewer can actually understand. When the two leaders really fight, you really understand which one is more about, their policies in regards to coming up Australia's a future. Obviously, we are in a very uncertain world where we have gone through a century pandemic with COVID-19, war broken up in Eastern Europe, and all the unstable inflations and everything you can think of. Which Prime Minister would the Australian choose, and how this will actually affect the visas that's coming up? We'll have a little discussion. So let's get into the actual news article that's been published earlier this morning and see how that goes. And at the end of this video, I will actually provide some of the feedback and summaries, how I feel about it, and how the visa and immigrations policy will actually be formed, or perhaps there be any changes coming up in Australia. So let's have a look of this news. It's actually coming from SBS, and so the title says the national security character and cost of living. Here's what Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese sparred over in the second leaders debate. If you watch it live, and actually there's actually a video that you can actually watch, an hour long, or probably a little bit longer, by the 60 minutes in YouTube. In YouTube, you can actually search it. Wow, it's actually phenomenal. I spent about an hour watching them, how they got into this heated debate. But anyway, they probably just bring on how they done it in Parliament and bring on the TV show, which is actually great. I think it's good for Australians who could actually understand each party's leader, what they are looking towards, and how they actually respond during the debate. I think that's the one thing, very importantly, if you want to elect and choose a leader, you want somebody who can actually respond very quickly in a timely manner. If somebody is stunned and cannot even respond to the questions, why would you choose this leader then to lead the country? Let's start with this. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese and Prime Minister Scott Morrison traded barb on issues ranging from cost of living, character, to national security and anti-corruptions. I think the two leaders, I cannot say they done a bad job, but they did all right on all these topics. But I think in the actual need for Australia is to choose someone who could actually lead Australia as a nation through a very shaky, unstable future, which that we are currently in at the moment. Why do I say that? Because over these 2 years with pandemic, COVID-19, and all these kind of things going on, instability of visa program that's caused by the pandemic as well, that we can actually see them. This is all the issues that we're required to address. So we really need to find somebody who can actually respond very good at this time of human history. So in an hour-long debate, the two leaders Face panel of 3 journalists, including Nice political editor Chris Uhrman, David Crow from Sydney Morning Herald, and also Deborah Knight from 2GB. The debate was hosted in 60 Minutes, reported by Sarah Abel. The result who performed better in the debate, according to Nice audience, are still fluctuating as the thousands of viewers cast their online vote. I think they're very, very close, to be honest, because the question has been asked, and in those answers coming out from the 2 leaders are, I think it's quite hard to actually make a who's actually winning or not. So by the news poll released on Sunday night, Labor stretched the 2-party preferably 54% to coalition 46%. So it's still very close. Still very close, because if they lose 2 points down to 52, this will go up to 48. So if they lose 4 points, this will be, I think it's a very tight race, and it's very fun to actually be involved in watching all of this. So national security, again, we're talking about, they're all talking about the hot topic here is China. So obviously China has signed a security pact with Solomon Island, which was a huge topic, not just talked about by Australia, but also New Zealand as well. So obviously the two leaders are accusing each other. So a lot of people will say, well, wouldn't Labor be a more pro-Beijing party to be there? But not really, because I think the opposition leader Anthony Albanese has responded quite well on this one, because he also accused the current party, Liberal National, having sold the Darwin port to the Chinese national state-run company, and also they during previous arrangements that the Labor was the one putting soldiers in Darwin and blah blah blah. So there's a lot of things, and also Anthony Albanese also accused the previous Prime Minister of the Liberal Party, Tony Abbott, who actually invited Xi Jinping to the Canberra Parliament to address the nation, which I don't know, which should be called a shame or something. Not too sure how that would go. But it's actually very interesting how this actually go on. But obviously, the Scott Morrison's accusing Labour Party to be much more friendlier, and a communist preferred party to be elected for Australia. So that's the way they're trying to get. But I think both parties, during the previous time frame where China was more friendly, not just to Australia but to the most of the country around the world, two parties always have, they all had involvements. They all had involvement with the Chinese party. You can't get out of that. But the truth here is that who will come against the CCP better in the future? So I think that's the key question here, not accusing each other's past. I think that's, well, any country around the world has been involved with the Chinese Communist Party in the past 10-20 years, so you cannot get anyone out of that. So why don't people trust you? Again, they go into the character debate where there's a media framing that Scott Morrison is a liar. So for some reason, obviously that's starting from the bushfire back in 2019, where there's a major bushfire going on nationally in Australia, and whilst Scott Morrison was having a holiday at Hawaii, where that's the point where he actually dropped a lot of trust. But that was I think that was right after he won the elections. And then for 3 years now, on from 2019 until today, 2022, and also the flood and a lot of other things. So there was a character trust, and also there was a debate in regards. So the trust will come into how Australia treat the French President Emmanuel Macron in regards to the submarine deal, which Australia basically kicked away the deal and cooperated with UK and USA for a nuclear sub. So is that a liar? Is that? Well, I don't think that's really. It's more about national political thing. And the other side for Anthony Albanese is more about his character not being known by the Australian public. I think that's where they were trying to go around that one. And on the federal anti-corruption body back on the agenda, where they look, I think it would be good for the country, for the nation of Australia, to have such authority there to actually check on all the corrupted conducts by the politician of Australia, and which also prevent what had happened to how the previous news in regards to Chinese Communist Party penetrated into certain part of the party, certain political personnel. I think that's really needed, and this also will go into agenda on checking some of the politician form. Well, they'll call it a non-profit organization, but they actually earn a lot of or receive a lot of fund from government by doing so, and then pay tribute or income or wages to whoever that is. That's how they're gonna arrange that as a corrupted issue. So I think that's really needed. But the looks like LNP is not really for that. So I think that's a little bit of a minus point to the LNP, the Liberal government. So now the final but not the least, the clash of the cost of living. Obviously, inflation is the big topic due to the war, due to COVID, also the transportation on the sea, cost of living, petrol prices and things like that. Personally, I think in a major turnaround era like this, we have just been through 24 months and still continuing with the COVID situation going on around the world. It's actually very, very hard to address cost of living. Everything will go up, not just because the national can any party in the nation can be done. It's a global issue. Now it's a global issue because look, for instance, can you control Shanghai port? If you cannot control Shanghai port and China continue to lock Shanghai down, how do you get those parts and goods to be shipped from Shanghai to Australia? If not, then obviously that will cost. The cost of that will be the delay on the goods, and the delay on the good, then the demand will rise. Demand will rise, then cost of living will go up. And the same thing for the building materials. Look at building materials nowadays. Due to COVID, a lot of material, due to a lot of lockdown in the past 24 months, a lot of things cannot be produced, cannot be shipped on time. So if it's cannot be shipped on time, demand will rise and cost of living obviously will go up. How do you address this? Well, they can, but I don't think they can do it by continuing printing money and delivering those money, cash, to the citizens. Well, they can, but if they do that, that will increase the debt of the government. So I think this is a very hard topic to be addressed by ways. So anyway, just summarize how I feel about this debate. I think it's a very good debate, not just watching it as a show, but it actually showed the democratic conduct by the two parties of the nation, and how this will actually affect the visa immigration program. I think in a way, if you're looking at if they cannot, none of them can actually really resolve the cost of living issues. If that's the problem, the economy will be shaky. Well, that's not just for Australia, that's for the entire world. We just been through a pandemic, and there's war going on, and there's instability, a security pact signed by Chinese government with the Solomon Islands, and also the inflation. That all add up together. I don't think any leader around the world or for particular nation could actually address this kind of issue solely. It's actually quite hard. So I think that the debate, the question that's been put out by those journalists is actually quite harsh. I don't think any leader around the world could actually address all these issues, but counting on how the both leaders perform, I think for Australians, they really need to pick somebody who could lead us into this unstable world for the next 3 years. And how that will affect the immigration and visa systems is, I probably have said this millions of times in my channel. If we look at the history of visa program in Australia, every time if there is economic instability, the policy for immigration will always be an open door, because that is the way how Australia can utilize immigration program and policy to actually balance the instability of economy. And that's how they have done it in the past, done it just right after World War II, and done it after the Great Depression, and they've done it in Asia financial crisis back in the 90s, and they've done it in the dot-com bubble, and they also done it during the 2008 the subprime situation. So here we go. The only timing they haven't really, they cannot do it, is due to the pandemic in 2020. Why they cannot do it? Because they simply have to shut down the border. So now the border is open, and we already seen those numbers had been coined during the budget 2022 and 23 and onwards. We believe that the increased quota of skilled migration will definitely be the key contributor to all this instability, which they probably don't want to address during the debate. Why? Because immigrant is not the voter. It's not, you don't win anything at all if you're talking about immigration program during elections. Anyway, should you have more question query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.